Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is a game that's known for a lot of things, like the resurrection of the Babylon Rogues, the charming racer interactions, and of course the wacky and fun lineup of crossover characters. But the part of this game that really grabs my attention is the titular CrossWorlds gimmick, in which the racers enter a portal on the second lap that transports them to a completely different location. These lap 2 worlds tend to be a good deal more zany and fantastical than the starting tracks, and some of them can get really off the wall and enjoyable. So today, I'm going to be ranking all 15 CrossWorlds from my least favorite to my favorite. Just keep in mind that this is all my own opinion, and you're free to express your own in the comments below as long as you keep the conversation civil. Also, if you want me to do more Sonic Racing tier lists like this in the future, then you can show your support for this content for free by liking the video and subscribing. It really goes a long way towards helping me out, and you can always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. With all that out of the way, it's time to start the ranking proper. So grab yourself some chili dogs and get ready to shift gears because it's CrossWorld ranking time. The returning viewers might have seen this one coming, but we're not going to be needing a D tier this time around. I like to reserve the D and F tiers for tier list entries that I consider to be outright awful, and I wouldn't say any of the CrossWorlds in this game have quite earned that dishonor. So yeah, we've got an empty D tier, now let's move up to somewhere that's a bit more occupied. Number 15, Sweet Mountain. As someone who grew up on Colors DS, this placement did sting a bit, but the more I played CrossWorlds, the more apparent it became to me that Sweet Mountain simply didn't have anything it needed to escape last place. Now I'll give credit where it's due. The opening driving segment with the winding hills offers a nice challenge, and the second driving section later on has that fun part where you have to perfectly time your jumps through the ramps to squeeze through the donut holes and get some extra goodies. But that's about where the positives end. The boat section is pretty uninteresting. It's just got one fork in the road and pretty much nothing else. The second driving section drags on for too long and doesn't offer anything of note besides the aforementioned donuts. And then there's the ending flight segment, which has a really cool idea with the pirate ship shooting giant candy balls towards the racers. But right when it starts getting good, the CrossWorld ends and I'm left wanting more. And that's basically the issue with the whole track. It's too short, poorly paced, and lacking in memorable moments, especially for such a cool level theme. In dire straits like these, it's usually up to the soundtrack to do the heavy lifting and carry the stage to greater heights. But there's no such luck here, as I found the Sweet Mountain remix to be pretty lacking. The trumpets from the original are sorely missed, and I don't think techno really fits the boisterous and larger-than-life feel of the original location. It's not even really a terrible remix in a vacuum, I just don't think it works with the setting. So all things considered, even though this track may be capable of the occasional pleasant surprise, it ironically wasn't very easy for me to stomach. Number 14, Digital Circuit. Of course this one's low tier. They made the Digital Circuit and really forgot to put Pomni in it? What a scam. But in all seriousness, this track has some pretty cool alternate routes, especially the ones that take place underneath the main path. And I'm also a fan of the flight area with the laser grid. It may just be a straight line like too many of the other plane segments in this game, but the hazards are so intrusive that you do have to respect them or else you'll get hit. One big issue I have with Digital Circuit is that the main driving portions aren't all that exciting if you don't go out of your way to follow one of the alt paths. And it really doesn't help that although the flashing neon lights and currents are initially aesthetically fascinating, they wear thin pretty quickly when the entire CrossWorld is patterned in a similar way, and there are very few engaging hazards or set pieces to help connect this track with a fun time in my mind. The song is a total banger though, I'll definitely give it that. It matches the frenetic speed of the visuals to a T, and does a great job of setting the pace for the otherwise not so amazing Digital Circuit. But that's enough of the tracks I think are subpar. Let's move up to the tracks that I consider to be good in the B tier. Number 13, Galactic Parade. Man, the past half decade hasn't been too kind on Sonic Colors, has it? First that remaster, and now both of its CrossWorlds are in the bottom 3. But at least this entry does have enough positives to barely outshine its flaws in my eyes. The track may be heavily based on its appearance in Transformed, but one positive that very quickly became clear to me is how there's nowhere near as much filler this time around. The purple light road that took up way too much time in the original has been shortened drastically, and the egg chaser hazards play a much more prominent role in this game. It's a lot more fun to weave around them in CrossWorlds. But what's really holding Galactic Parade back this time around are the flight areas. The first one is a brand new addition, but it's really short and bare bones. The second one is the asteroid belt section making a return from Transformed, only this time it's been heavily neutered to the point where it's just a tiny fraction of what used to be my favorite part of the level. What is it with these colors tracks and edging me with a really cool flight section at the end, only to cut it short once it gets good? This ain't a Sonic 3 special stage, I don't need all the blue balls. And I'm not a huge fan of the song either. There's a lot of discourse going around in the Sonic community about EDM and its role in the soundtrack, and while I'm largely neutral on it, I don't think its implementation here on Galactic Parade is all that great. The song just takes way too long to get to the iconic melody, especially when the track only gets to stick around for a single lap in races. So while I find Galactic Parade to have quite a few glaring issues, the main driving portion is enjoyable enough for me to rocket it out of bottom tier. Number 12, Sky Road. The original track was my favorite course back in Team Sonic Racing, which isn't really saying all that much considering that game was far and away the one I enjoyed the least of the modern Sonic Racing quadrilogy. But hey, a win's a win. Here in CrossWorlds, the bar's been raised a lot higher, and Sky Road's changed quite a bit for both better and worse. The opening flight sequence is an extremely welcome addition, considering, it's the sky level, of course it needs a flight sequence. And thankfully it's not all that short either. There's a good deal of balloons and bumpers to navigate around here, and the whole thing feels really serene, especially with the new remix which gives us a much more graceful and calm take on the track's theme that's much more appropriate for this setting. And for the most part, the driving portion is a good time as well. There's a lot of fun but often merciless balloon cuts to watch out for. The problem with Sky Road in this game is that it feels laughably short. It definitely still needed that long section from the original where you can just do a million tricks off of the colossal balloons. That part always felt so satisfying. If this CrossWorld just had a bit more meat on its bones, it would have had a much better shot at reclaiming its crown from TSR. But what we got is just a serviceable remake that sits comfortably in the B tier and can't float any higher. Number 11, Roulette Road. Ah yes, the only track to appear in every Sonic Racing since the original Sega All-Stars back in 2010. Does it have anything new in store for us since last time? Well, kind of, but also not really. I like the new little opening for its theme song that syncs with a giant pool ball bouncing across the track. It helps to immediately sell the bustling and lively nature of Casino Park. Also, you actually get to go over the slot machine now instead of just under it like before, so that's pretty neat. Additionally, this course had some of its fat trim due to it being a CrossWorld and not a full track, but that's to be expected in this game. What you're left with is a notably shorter but sleeker version of the same poker chip littered non-stop turns from the old days. It's kinda hard to not feel like the poor thing got left in the dust compared to tracks like Sky Road that got major new vehicle sections added to help them keep pace with the transformation gameplay style. But on the other hand, racing around a giant casino will always be a lot of fun, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if you're looking for a new and innovative racing experience in this game, this definitely isn't the track for you. But if you're nostalgic for Sonic Heroes or any of the past Sonic racers and want to relive those thrills with a new coat of paint, then go all in on Roulette Road. But I'd still wager that there's quite a few better CrossWorlds out there, so let's take a look at the home of CrossWorlds I'd consider to be great, the A tier. Number 10, Golden Temple. The Arabian theming here does a great job of helping this course stand out from the rest, and the temple has the nuanced track design needed to back up its unique visuals. Right out of the gate, the path splits in 3 directions and you can choose between the faster, more straightforward middle route, or one of the slower side paths that feature item boxes. I love it when tracks make you choose between raw speed and resources. It's pleasantly common in this game. No matter which of the temple paths you choose, be sure to keep an eye out for the giant rolling balls that can crush you flat if you're not careful. But for me, it's the back half of this course that really keeps it out of B tier, because it's a boat section featuring the Deadly Diamond. This tricky track piece contains 5 turns in quick succession that might seem pretty unforgiving at first, but they actually utilize the unique mechanic of the boat in a really cool way. The inside edges of the Deadly Diamond are opened up so you can charge jumps to cut the corners. It's well-designed sections like these that make me very happy that CrossWorlds finally found a clever way to better distinguish the gameplay of the car and boat segments. So the moral of the story is that this course helped to set a new gold standard for water sections and kart racers everywhere. Thank you for your service, Deadly Diamond. Wait, how come it didn't? Number 9, Holoska. Very few CrossWorlds can match this place in terms of raw vibes. The gameplay here is also pretty unique because a good portion of this track focuses more on unorthodox sections that challenge players to think creatively when it comes to speed management and switching between the different vehicle types. The opening driving portion has a lot of hazards to weave around, but the real star of the show is the middle part that's chock full of various gates that let you switch between boat and plane whenever you please. If you take to the skies, then you need to be careful to steer clear of the glaciers, and staying in the water requires you to get a sense of the timing for the waves being created by... Call me a fake fan if you want, but what's this guy's name again? Hold on a minute. You know, he kinda strikes me as a Buford, so that's his name now. So anyways, Buford will crash down in the sea as the race unfolds, and players who travel by boat have to make clever use of his waves as well as the charge jump to get the amount of verticality they want, and I think that's pretty awesome. And then the ending, where you jump and break through the icicles, is really flashy and fun. All of the action is backed by a really smooth remix. I may find this game's soundtrack to be inconsistent in terms of quality, but when it hits, it really hits, and this is definitely one of those hits. I wish I could play it in the background for you all right now, but it's tradition that only the top tiers get their level themes played as the video BGM for their segments. But regardless, Holoska is more than cool enough to have the edge over many of the other tracks in this game. Farewell, Buford. Number 8, Dinosaur Jungle. So this is one of those CrossWorlds that's got a lot going on. And all things considered, it's a pretty enjoyable time. The Tyrannosaurs make for a terrifying and thrilling hazard that requires constant vigilance to avoid, and the boat segment at the start features some really gorgeous scenery. Above all else, I love how many different settings there are here. You've got the rapids, the savannah, the cave, and they all come together to really help make this homage to Secret Rings shine. But as great as this course may be, I can't help but feel wistful that it could have placed far higher with just a bit better execution. The track's called Dinosaur Jungle, but to me it feels like the only dinosaur that's implemented well here are the T-Rexes. The pterodons are nothing more than a background element, and the Apatosaurus at the end is close to being really cool, but similarly to Sweet Mountain, the idea feels half-baked because the CrossWorld closes before we can actually finish riding up him. If the ending portal was instead right after a jump off of his head, I feel like it would have been so much more satisfying. Okay, I've been trying to avoid this comparison, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a little bit embarrassing to be a dinosaur-themed track and somehow not have the best Apatosaurus implementation of any racing game this year. Yeah, it's just crazy how Dinosaur Jungle got smoked by Wonder Museum of all things in that regard. As for other dinosaurs I would have loved to see, why not add some Triceratops? They were in the stage in Secret Rings and could easily stand in for some of the T-Rexes during the more linear savanna portion, especially because I feel like Tyrannosaurs actually benefit from riding solo here, due to less commonly being associated with packs than Triceratops, which is again corroborated by Secret Rings. Is it that obvious I had a dinosaur phase as a kid? But yeah, in summary, less T-Rexes would have made them feel more special. More of every other dinosaur would have helped the stage feel more entertaining. And it's still an absolute joy of a CrossWorld, even with my childhood-induced nitpicks in mind. Number 7, Hidden World. What an acid trip this one is. I'm always a big fan of heavily stylized bizarro worlds like this, and hey, if this is the closest thing we can get to a CrossWorld based on Persona 5, then I'll take it. And to think, this banger is courtesy of Sonic Lost World of all games. What a time to be alive. Here we alternate back and forth between plane and car, and of the 4 different segments present, My favorite is definitely the first driving portion, because it features endless rings and boost pads, making the whole part feel like a crazy power trip. The second flight area is a reference to Hidden World Zone 2, where Sonic rides around on the tornado, and then you have the final driving part, which is terrifying because of these giant enemies that can very easily impede your progress if you don't track their movements. Oh, that reminds me, a cool thing about this stage is that it actually explains the secret lore behind how Pac-Man joined this game's roster. It turns out his inbred cousin has been friends with Sonic for over a decade, so Pac just cashed in a favor and here he is, complete with his crew, and he even got Sonic to show up in his own game. You see that? That's why you never burn your bridges. But anyways, the soundtrack for Hidden World in this game gave the original piece a huge glow up. At times it even sounds reminiscent of Sonic CD's soundtrack, which is always a huge boon. That plus the strange location, mind-bending layout, and lively hazards ensure that Hidden World stays on top, save for just the deadly 6 above it. Speaking of which, let's check out the tier full of CrossWorlds that I believe never fail to deliver a truly amazing experience. You know it, you love it, it's the S tier. Number 6, Dragon Road. Man, this game really is the world's most expensive ad for Sonic Unleashed. But don't let that distract you from the fact that this stage is a winner through and through. I love the delineation between the hazardless driving portions that focus on pure white-knuckle racing, and the more chaotic and open boat section in the middle that puts your dodging and charge jumping abilities to the test. Sometimes even an entire route will be walled off by pinions shot by the Dark Gaia Phoenix, but charge jumping grants you a chance to overcome this as well. There's even one of those really cool shortcuts where you hop over an island using the red rings. No, not those red rings, these red rings. It always feels so rewarding to get whisked away through them. The progression of Dragon Road is something that's quite interesting too, because you get to watch as Dark Gaia Phoenix goes from just a background element while you're driving to the actual source of the hazards in the middle. It may seem pretty simple, but it's not every track that features a little narrative like this. Another great thing this course has going for it is its length, as both the individual segments and track as a whole feel fully realized. There's no point where I wish Dragon Road explored any of its ideas further. And what's more, a lot of the turns and challenges presented on this course can be pretty tricky, especially in the driving section, so I'm glad this one helps to diversify the difficulty of the CrossWorlds as well. The cherry on top of it all is the Eastern level theming that gives us some beautiful scenery and music throughout the experience. I could keep talking about this track all day, but I won't waste your time and drag on, so let's kick off the top 5 with number 5, Magma Planet. I guess I will continue to drag on after all, because it looks like the beast from the last track followed us here. These guys make quite the first impression when you first fly through the portal and they lunge towards you. It sure sets the tone for this treacherous hellscape. And flight really is the star of the show here. Yeah, the driving sections are really fun as well, but not many second laps offer you quite this level of airborne thrills. And it's probably because this course has something that very few others in this game do. An actual major turn built directly into a flight section's layout. Talk about exclusive status. And it's not just the layout, because there are still some great hazards here like the lava dragons I touched on earlier, and also this fun laser grid. What's more, Magma Planet takes a page out of Holoska's book, because a major slice of the track lets players swap between 2 vehicle types as they please. The driving portion is another one that features a pretty challenging layout. The road is so narrow that you've got to keep a sharp eye out for traps from opponents like the magnets. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this course is its status as the only track in the entire game to originate from a Sega IP that's not Sonic. Aside from possibly Wonder Museum, but that's debatable, and the resemblance to Planet Veltior from Galaxy Force 2 here on Magma Planet is undeniable. This is such a peculiar choice for a throwback, and while I'm certainly grateful that they decided to make this track considering how stellar the end result was, I find it so baffling that this is the only one. Even in the DLC, the only characters getting tracks added are from non-Sega IPs, and I would have loved to see the likes of Temple Trouble or Dream Valley return, especially when II and Knights have been leaked to be returning to the game. And forget the great tracks from the old days, what about entirely new tracks? I mentioned Persona earlier, but with all the old school Sega franchises getting new life these days, The insane course potential has never been higher. It's just going to feel so weird having all these great Sega characters drip-fed to us, and none of them get banger stages while the guests get all the fun. But tangent aside, Magma Planet is straight heat and a true force to be reckoned with. Number 4? Oh boy. So a few months back, SpongeBob was leaking for this game, and this was my introduction to beloved Nickelodeon icon Sponge Robert SquarePants joining CrossWorlds.
Cyberspace!
The whole thing just looked like he was modded into Sonic Frontiers. It did not feel real or official in the slightest. But in spite of my uncanny first exposure to this stage, Cyberspace is more than worth taking seriously. Its unique approach to track design is incredibly distinctive and enjoyable. Most of the Eternal Highway is split in half, with various shortcuts, collectibles, and hazards to be found on either side. This mirrors how real-life highways are split down the middle, and it's always fantastic design when a course is able to effectively capitalize on its theming to create a totally fresh gameplay experience. And while it's true that CrossWorlds merely adapted this Street Division idea from previous Sonic games, it obviously translates especially well to a kart racer like this. The division of the road continues into the flight section, where even more choices await you. And then the CrossWorld is capped off with one of the most intense and hectic endings of all time as Rush Hour finally kicks off and you must weave around the oncoming trucks or else fall prey to the ASGORE special. The escalation in this stage feels surprisingly natural for a world that's entirely artificial. The beginning introduces you to the split lanes mechanic, the middle lets you apply what you've learned, and the ending raises the stakes by forcing you to make snap decisions. But as well designed as Cyberspace is, the best part of the experience will always be the music, because Tomoya Otani cooked a 3 Michelin star meal with his remix of Flowing. It is hands down the best of the second lap themes. I really want to play it for you all right now so bad, but we're still not in the top tier yet, and rules are rules. Screw it. Just this once. And here we are, the big three, the top dogs. I believe these 3 CrossWorlds are more than just amazing, they're straight up masterpieces that belong in the Racing Game Hall of Fame. So without further ado, I give you the P tier. Initially, I wasn't really sold on this one. I mean, I always thought it was good, but P-tier material? Steampunk City. In the top 3? Yeah, I'm standing 10 toes down on this take. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. The industrial aesthetic here is flawless, and I've always been fond of train stages in games, so that's one area of the level that always clicked with me right from the start. That first flight section that has you weaving up and down past the tracks immediately instills just how gargantuan this city is. And out of every CrossWorld in the game, this one has the most compelling sense of scale by a good margin. Another way this course really drills this point home is through the gigantic steam engine players have the option to duck under for some extra speed from boost panels. Pretty much all of the hazards on this level follow suit, like the railways and smokestacks. They're all larger than life and do wonders for the world building here in addition to making for fun challenges to navigate around. And let's not forget the music, because this CrossWorlds theme has a ton of dramatic weight to it that really adds a lot to the industrial atmosphere and makes every single action like the metal pounding of the giant train and the smoke billowing out of the smokestacks feel leagues more impactful. Even though I found both flight sections to be quite enjoyable, I definitely think the middle driving portion is where the real action is. The train hazards are only the beginning, because there are so many tiny shortcuts and fun little bonus paths hiding from you, kind of like your dad when you tell him your favorite Sonic game is Forces. This track absolutely respects your intelligence by rewarding exploration at just about every turn, and that's really what eluded me about Steampunk City on my first few go-arounds. But once I did my homework, I came to realize that yes, this track somehow is actually as cool as it looks. In fact, it's so good that even after playing it time and time again, I'll never run out of steam. Now this one didn't have any sort of redemption arc with me, because I knew right from the moment I started playing on it that it was one of the very best this game had to offer. But researching it further still only caused my opinion of it to improve. Good one on White Cave for being the oldest retro track in the game and placing higher than any of the other returnees. You've gotta hand it to the old timer for being able to more than hold its own with all the new blood here. But this track did change quite a bit from its appearance in Sonic Riders, although that's entirely to be expected considering how fundamentally different of a game CrossWorlds is. A lot of this course's trappings in the original simply wouldn't make sense in a kart racer like this, but White Cave's remake did a brilliant job of maintaining the feel of the original by preserving some of the location's most memorable traits, while adding some new wrinkles that feel perfectly in the spirit of what the original was beloved for. The layout in this level focuses on short patches of terrain that you can string together in any order you want to clear the area more quickly, giving White Cave its own unique gameplay identity similar to cyberspace. Sections like the giant flower bounce offer opportunities for tons of airtime and tricks, letting players pull off stylish combos in a manner reminiscent of Riders. My personal favorite is the returning full pipe, because weaving around the obstacles and hitting the boost panels in 360 degrees feels so liberating. Nowhere else in the game lets you do anything like this, although I wouldn't be surprised if the eventual TMNT track featured a similar mechanic for a sewer pipe. But last of all, you have the section with the giant tendrils shooting out of the ground, and I love the risk-reward factor here, because you want to go over the mounds so you can trick off of them and get a bit of extra speed, but you've got to be careful you don't pick the wrong one, or else the only trick you'll be doing is making your lead vanish into thin air. The remix for White Cave utilizes a subgenre of EDM known as hardstyle, which I didn't even know existed until this video, so it was fun learning about something new. This kind of music's not really my cup of tea, but it definitely fits this stage like a glove. Putting everything together, this CrossWorld exists at a perfect intersection between the past and present, so I can't help but cave in when it comes to giving it the silver medal for this ranking. But now that I think about it, Jet's probably not going to be too happy that his stage got second place. Oh no, he's getting closer. Quick, cut to the number card for first place, the best CrossWorld of them all, the one that outshines all others, yada yada yada, just hurry! It's Kraken Bay. Where do I even start with this one? I love everything about it. You can really tell Sonic Team went all out here. All three vehicle types get a chance to shine, and they all feel very well implemented and worthwhile. The boat section has trickable waves caused by the stormy sea, the driving section features meddling ghosts that lob barrels at you and run around causing havoc, and the flight section features the final epic confrontation with the Kraken. I mentioned how the Dark Gaia Phoenix is a stage hazard with a narrative that unfolds throughout the track as it starts attacking you the further you get, but the Kraken completely blows it out of the water in that regard. It has a lot more variety in its attacks, and the confrontation feels immaculately paced, especially with what is perhaps the coolest moment in the entire game, when you fly through the exit ring being held up in midair by the Kraken as he stares you down. It's so immensely ominous, like he knows full well that one day a portal will bring you right back to him, and he'll be waiting just for that moment. Even on the box art, he's staring straight into your soul and waiting for you off in the distance. I'm telling you, this guy's a menace. The foreboding atmosphere is flawless, and that's assisted greatly by one of the best musical pieces that this game has to offer. Some fans might lament that we didn't get a remix of No Way Through from the original stage in Secret Rings that the CrossWorld is based on, but the entirely new piece has so much vigor and cinematic weight to it that I am very glad they thought outside the box here. The theme features a call and response between the heroic guitar and the menacing brass that gradually gets overtaken by haunting vocals. Together, They seem to tell the tale of a swashbuckling warrior in a desperate struggle to fend off a horde of the undead. And right when it seems like he's faltering and losing ground, he finds another wind and triumphantly strikes back against the opposition. I find this story through music to be absolutely captivating, and while it's certainly not the only track in the game to have something along these lines, it's definitely the best at it in my opinion. Kraken Bay has it all. The pacing, the layout, the hazards, the alternate paths, the music, the narrative, it's all tremendous and truly makes this place feel like the culmination of all 14 of the other CrossWorlds. It's a 10 out of 10 course and does more in one lap than most other racing game tracks can do in 3. What more can I even say? Kraken Bay is so good that it's scary. So there you have it, my ranking of all 15 Lap 2 tracks in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. But what about you? What are your favorites and least favorites and why? Be sure to share your opinions down below because I love exchanging thoughts with fellow fans of the games I enjoy. Should I make another one of these for all the regular tracks in CrossWorlds? Well, maybe I will if this video performs well enough. You know what to do to help it get there, I already gave you that spiel in the beginning. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. This has been Triple S, and I'll see you next time.